We feeling good. We feeling great on a victory Monday. And you guys know what the big topic is for today, based off the thumbnail, based off the caption. Trade targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. How we could improve this team that is already first in the AFC North. And I got 8 names here. I got 8 names that I wouldn't say are pie in the sky that much. I think some of these are very legitimate. Maybe 1 or 2 are pie in the sky. I don't really think are going to happen or could happen. But we got some good names here. I think I got some good prospects for us. Before we get into that, let me go over some Monday morning reaction from yesterday's game. And I'm going to do 3 things that I feel like I missed in yesterday's stream or I just think deserve to be highlighted a little bit more. First is coaching. Didn't talk much about coaching. Talked a lot more about the players yesterday, the defense, special teams in particular. But I think we got to give credit where credit is due. We were bashing the coaching all last week after that Texans game. We weren't prepared. The team came out flat, this and that. But with how they performed yesterday, I think those padded practices may have helped just a little bit. Not with how we started the game. That was looking like fool's gold. It was like, okay, this was the big change you were making, Tomlin, padded practice. We look even more flat than last week. But how they responded, the adjustments that were made, you got to give Tomlin credit for that. You have to. Now, the Ravens did help us out a little bit with the wide receiver drops for sure. But still, to hang in that game when things were looking bleak early on, let's give the coaches some credit. And Danny Smith on special teams, of course. The second thing is Broderick Jones. I thought Broderick Jones from the first look played good. I thought the offensive line played better than what it has shown, at least for the most part of the season. Played better. It's still not where it needs to be. It's still not even at average. But Broderick Jones, for his first start against our division foe, the Baltimore Ravens, he held his own, man. And the stats back it up. 0 pressures allowed and had a 97.6 run block win rate. So shout out to Broderick Jones. And then the last thing I feel like could be talked about a little bit more. I did mention Quan Alexander. He looked like the old Pro Bowl Quan Alexander out there. He's flying all over the place. Huge signing for us this offseason. That's looking like a huge dub so far. Other signings, not so much. But I need to include, too, not only Quan Alexander, but the inside linebackers as a whole. Cole Holcomb and Landon Roberts. Because they were getting it done, too. It's just nice to have. I don't know if we took it for granted or taking it for granted, but you look at our inside linebackers this year compared to last year. These dudes look like Steeler linebackers. And that's what we're used to. So that's what I'm saying. Maybe we're just taking it for granted. Maybe we're only highlighting some of the big-time splash plays that are being made like Quan was doing yesterday. But Landon Roberts and Cole Holcomb, man, they hold their own as well. So I would say inside linebackers as a whole deserve some credit. So those were 3 things I felt like I may have missed on yesterday's stream. I mean, we're pressing record right after the game happens. Obviously, I'm going to miss some stuff, but that's why we're doing another one today. So coaching, let's give Tomlin some props. It was an ugly game. And just based off some of the decisions he was making throughout the game. Like there were many a times where I felt like we should have been more aggressive, but he was slow playing it. He was like, you know what? I'm going to continue to trust this defense. The defense is going to continue to give us opportunities as the game wanes on. And they did. And the offense finally took advantage of that. Now, he did have a questionable challenge. That one that was, what was it? It was over the sideline. It was considered a catch, and he challenged it to be an incomplete catch. But it was ultimately ruled a fumble, so we didn't lose a timeout. It was so obvious from the first replay that it was a catch fumble. I don't know what his deal is with these challenges, man. Doesn't he have like a 5% success rate on those? It's bad. It's bad. We need to get a challenge specialist in the booth. Get a gamer. Get someone that plays Madden. I mean, they would do better than Tomlin's challenge. It was bad again, but we got blessed with keeping the timeout. Because ultimately they did reverse the call as a fumble out of bounds. So it worked out for us. It worked out. But shout out to Tomlin for the coaching. Also, Broderick Jones, and then, as I mentioned, the inside linebackers as a whole. And we still on this needs highlighted again too. We still on the Fire Canada train. We still on that cut gunner energy, and we also have to play Joey Porter Jr. more. Let's make sure that is not forgotten. And then real quick before I hop into the chat, real quick before I hop into the chat, say what's up to you guys, who's tuning in and whatnot. Let's talk about the Matt Canada game-winning touchdown controversy. This is pretty funny. So this was on the game-winning touchdown pass, Pickett to Pickens. This was Matt Canada's reaction right here. Let's run it back again. Look at everyone else in the booth. Excited. Matt Canada, not so much. What's going on there? Some people, like the guy that tweeted this out, he's got the caption here that reads, "This clip validates my theory that Matt Canada does not actually want the Steelers to score." Now, I don't think that's true, but I could see a world where Matt Canada called something down there, Kenny Pickett audibled, and we ended up scoring on the Kenny Pickett play as opposed to the Matt Canada play, whatever the initial call that was sent in. Now, I don't think that actually happened. That's what a lot of people are saying, though, out there on Twitter. I'm sure you guys have seen all that. I'm sure you guys have seen that. Canada called in a jet sweep, and Kenny said, F that. No, we're throwing it to Pickens. Here's what I think. I think we just hate Canada, and we don't give the dude the benefit of the doubt at all. And I think Pickens even confirmed it after the game that the one that we scored on, the Pickett to Pickens touchdown, the game-winning touchdown, that was the call that they had coming out of the huddle. So I guess, do we give Matt Canada a little bit of credit for that? Maybe we can, but outside of that, for the other 99% of the game, I ain't giving him that much credit. But I do think we are being a little bit hard on Matt Canada for that because he might be thinking, he just might be stone cold and be like, okay, what's next? Now we got to go for two. He's thinking about the 2-point conversion play. So, no, I don't think there's a big controversy there about that. But I do think it was funny when the tweets were brought up and just how it is our knee-jerk reaction at this point just to bash Canada and think that he has the worst intentions about everything. I don't think that was the case there. Remix 84 says Canada can't scheme them open. Omaha Bill says Pittsburgh needs another receiver. Drop the receiver that you're thinking about because I'm going to go over these trade targets. I'll see if I give it the thumbs up or the thumbs down. Yeah, drop your guys' trade proposals in the chat. Who you guys want to trade for? Who you think could fit this team? After I go through my 8 names, I'll react to some of yours. This is funny. This one's funny. J Mola 13, he had to get tapped on the shoulder to celebrate by another coach because the TV was on him. So you're saying the other coach knew that the TV was on the booth and was like, yo, bro, you come on, like you got to celebrate, show some emotion or they're going to get after you. And they did. Like, dude, you know this video is all over Twitter right now. Like, Canada does not want the Steelers to score points. Canada is mad that Kenny didn't run the jet sweep play that he called down. Like, that's what people are saying, legitimately. I don't buy it, though. I don't buy it fully. I do think it's funny. I think the reaction, I think the commentary is hilarious. I do low-key think we could use another receiver. I like that call. I like that call you guys brought up. The obvious trade we could make is trading Matt Canada for a bag of chips. That's obvious. And maybe, just like we got rid of Kendrick Green in the offseason, maybe a team would be willing to give us a 7th-round pick for Gunner. Maybe we could trade him back to the Patriots. Patriots are kind of down bad right now. Maybe we get a 7th instead of just cutting him. Bleed Black and Gold 8 says Deontay back after the bye. Is that confirmed? Is there a report out there that saying that's going to happen? Because based off the timeline, when we put him on IR and everything, that should happen. As long as there haven't been any like speed bumps or hiccups in his process. I think we're all assuming he's going to be back, but you never know with those hamstrings, man. You never know. I pray that he's going to be back. I pray he'll be back because I think that will help the offense. I think firing Canada would help the offense, but Deontay Johnson coming back will definitely help as well. But yeah, shout out to all you guys in the chat right now. Dre Day 1067, T Geek in the house, NY Guy 2018, B Solly 12, Gavin Porter 6, Zachary Andrews. We got AP 412, 0501. Big shout out. All right, let me go over my trade targets. Let me get the graphic up. Make this thing look good. There we go. There we go. We even got the trade target emoji there. First two. I think these are obvious to anyone that has watched Steeler football in 2023. Our secondary can use some work. First name I got. This dude's been mentioned over the last week or two. There's been some trade buzz about this guy. His team's not doing too well. I'm talking Patrick Surtain II. If he is legitimately available, and I'm not 100% sure he's available right now, there are conflicting reports out there saying that Broncos are definitely open to dealing this trade deadline. And some reports say they're willing to pretty much trade anyone on defense. But then I'm seeing some other rumors state that there's only specific guys. And Patrick Surtain would most likely be on the no trade list. But if he's legitimately available, Omar Khan, Mike Tom, like get on the phones immediately and trade for this dude. Because not only is he in his prime, not only does he have NFL pedigree that Tomlin and the Steelers organization love, because his father was a former Pro Bowl cornerback back in the day with the Dolphins. I think he might have played for the Saints too. So he's got pedigree. He's in his prime. But he's also like legitimately a top 10 corner in this league right now. He's young, still on his rookie contract. So we don't got to shell out a ton of money immediately. We could at least wait till the offseason or wait till the season after that because of the fifth-year option and whatnot. I'm assuming we would have to pay him sooner rather than later. But we got Pat P on a 2-year deal, so he'll be up after 2024. And based off how he's playing right now, I wouldn't even be surprised if he's a cap casualty after this year. Levi Wallace is also up after this season. Omar Khan can make the numbers work. So right there, that's between Levi Wallace and Pat P. That's $8 million. Oh no, that's even more than $8 million. I think that's around $10 or $11 million on the books, which would be off the books. You could put that towards a Surtain contract. We got a bunch of other deals like a Keanu Neal, Quan Alexander. Now, I based off how Quan's playing, I would love to have Quan Alexander back. But I'm saying we're gonna have some cap space still that we'd be able to make it work, so we could have Patrick Surtain locked up here for the next 4 or 5 years if we make the trade for him. And I think that would be very much worth the investment. You are getting a lockdown franchise CB1, and you're pairing him with hopefully another lockdown franchise CB1 and JPJ. Like that would be an absolutely lethal duo. Have to make that move, or have to at least be interested in that move if he's available. Don't know what it would cost. I think it would range from a first-round pick, maybe a player, maybe throw a second and a third-round pick in there, to multiple first-rounders. I don't know exactly what it would take, but Steelers should absolutely be interested in Patrick Surtain II. And the Broncos, they're definitely going to be sellers at the trade deadline. It just depends on if Patrick Surtain is available or not. We don't know. There's some other players, and I saw one of you guys bring up his name, Jerry Jeudy. That could be intriguing. That could be. But the second name I got here, another cornerback in the same draft class, just hasn't done as much in the league as Patrick Surtain, though. I'm talking J.C. Horn. Maybe we could get him for a little bit less than what it would take for Surtain II. This would probably be more in our ballpark in terms of the assets that we would have to give up, because J.C. Horn has not been on Patrick Surtain's level up to this point in both of their careers. A lot of that has to do with injury. Like, he's on the IR right now. He got hurt his rookie year, played a full season last year, and it still wasn't up to Patrick Surtain's caliber. And then already he's on the IR for 2023. So maybe, give up a second. get J.C. Horn in the building, and he's on short-term IR, so he is designated to come back at some point this season. I think it just makes sense from the standpoint, again, our secondary needs some upgrades. We need some youth in the building. We have that in JPJ. He needs to start playing more. That's clear as day after yesterday's interception. When he's out there, he doesn't get cooked, and it seems like plays are being made. Outside of his lackadaisical attempt at a tackle against the Texans, Joey Porter Jr. has been an A-quality player for the Steelers thus far. Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace, not so much. Now, they've been out there more than JPJ, but I think we need another guy. We need a dog in here. We need a J.C. Horn or a Patrick Surtain II. I think it would cost less to get Horn in here, and maybe that would be more up our alley. And obviously, the Panthers could be sellers like the Broncos at the trade deadline because they're 0-5. Now, J.C. Horn may be a part of their rebuild because of how young he is, but this is a new regime. They didn't draft J.C. Horn. If we were to give them a second-round pick, maybe that's enough to move off of J.C. for the Panthers. What's crazy, though, I wanted to bring this up. I thought this is something interesting to note. We're talking about trying to bring in cornerbacks. What's crazy is we had a couple cornerbacks on this team that are balling out around the league right now. One of them we went up against in Steven Nelson. Like right here, look at this. This was last week, so I don't know what Akello or Steven Nelson did in week 5, but you look at this, man. We're complaining about secondary. We're seeing hold on, I botched this up. Give me a sec. Hold on. Let me get this back. I wanted to get that the overlay out of here. Hold on, give me a sec. Okay. Yeah, you look at the ratings here. Akello Witherspoon and Steven Nelson, top 4 in lowest passer rating allowed for the season. We had both those dudes on the roster, and we ran them out of town. Now, Akello Witherspoon, he was his own problem for us because he couldn't stay healthy in 2022, and when he was out there, he was getting absolutely torched. So I understand why we let him go. Steven Nelson, that was more of a cap issue. It was decided between him and Joe Hayden. Yeah, we were up against the cap at that point. We definitely were. I was bummed that we let Steven Nelson go because Nelson was good for us. A lot of people didn't think so, but I thought Nelson was solid, and he's been proving that. Played with the Eagles after he left Pittsburgh, and then these last couple seasons with the Texans. Obviously, he's having a good 2023. Got a pick against us. It's just crazy when you think about we had, in a way, our secondary help already on the squad, but they are no longer here, and now we're talking about trading for dudes and stuff at the trade deadline. Just a little bit of a bummer. I thought our acquisitions we made over these last couple off seasons offset these losses. Patrick Peterson, Levi Wallace. We also lost to Cam Sutton. But I thought Pat Pete, Levi Wallace, and us drafting JPJ would be fine, if not an upgrade. But it's not the case thus far in 2023. It's not. Next name. Hold on, let me get that overlay back. 2 names, same position, just like the cornerbacks. 2 cornerbacks, 2 tight ends. 1, Mike Gesicki, New England Patriots tight end. I'd say at one point in his career, he was a top 10 tight end. Missed out, I think, on his last year with the Dolphins. He was franchise tagged. Didn't really have that good of a season. Signed with New England just this last offseason for like a cheap 1-year deal, like $4.5 million. Omaha Bills bringing up Hunter Henry. I mean, that could be a name too. The reason for the Steelers is we just witnessed it this last week. If Pat Freiermuth goes down, our depth at the tight end position is lacking big time. All we got is Darnell Washington and then Connor Hayward. And Connor Hayward is not a true tight end. So it wouldn't hurt for us to, send a late round pick and bring in a guy that knows what he's doing. Mike Gesicki is like legitimately a good tight end. Now he's up there in New England in a dismal offense. I don't know how excited he'd be to come here to Pittsburgh and be the second tight end option in another dismal offense. Now ours isn't as bad as New England, but you kind of get my point there. I don't know exactly where he'd fit in. because when everyone is healthy, you got a Muth and you got a Darnell Washington, right? Like that is suffice for a tight end 1 and a tight end 2 option. So it might get a little bit crowded, which is why I think a guy like Tommy Tremble, and this is the second tight end name that I want to bring up, I think that could make more sense because he's already considered a depth tight end guy. He's not as decorated as a Mike Gesicki, so he could fit in perfectly as like the second or third guy in the tight end room. And he's versatile in a way like Connor Hayward, but he's known more for being an athletic blocking tight end. I know a lot of us liked him a lot coming out of college and in the draft and whatnot. We thought he had that Steeler type of aura around him, very physical player. And again, Carolina, they could be in sell mode with them being 0-5. I think Tremble would be a good pickup, and I think he should cost less than a Gesicki, and would maybe even be easier to get a deal done because the Steelers and the Panthers have that Steeler connection because of the owner. Used to be like a minority owner or something up here in Pittsburgh, whereas the Patriots, we know there's a rivalry there. Although the Patriots helped us out on draft day with that trade to hop over the Jets to get Broderick Jones. So maybe Belichick's just lost his fastball in general, not only on the field, but off the field. Maybe he'd be a little bit more friendly with us, as he's shown with that draft day trade. Last few, I'll go over these briefly. This is actually a third cornerback. Marcus Peters. He just signed a cheap 1-year deal with the Raiders. Raiders are looking pretty bad this year. If you can't get a J.C. Horn or a Patrick Surtain, it wouldn't hurt to toss a late-round pick out there for Marcus Peters. It wouldn't hurt. He probably has more gas left in the tank than a Pat P. He could probably be a better option for us out there instead of a Levi Wallace. So, yeah, you wouldn't have to make any long-term commitment to Marcus Peters. And I think he's still a solid player. Like, it wouldn't hurt to add him to the secondary room based off everything that's been taking place thus far. It would not hurt. These last two, I mentioned that I didn't think the names I was going to bring up were pie in the sky, but I don't think either of these are happening. It makes sense. It makes sense. And people are going to call me biased for bringing them up, but it's not. It's not at all. These guys are just good players. I think they would fit very well here with the Steelers. One is Aaron Donald. He's been brought up a lot in trade rumors and whatnot because obviously the Rams are having a little bit of a down year. This just comes down to if Aaron Donald wants out, if the Rams are willing to take on a fair portion of his contract, we could make it work. But if we got to pay all of Aaron Donald's salary for the rest of this year, next year, it's not happening. He's just owed way too much money. Way too much money. But you add him with a Cam Hayward, a Keanu Benton on that defensive line, I don't think anyone's going to be able to run the ball. It depends on what the Rams do, too. They're a weird team where they're still competitive. They're sitting at 2-3. So they could either maybe win the next however many games. Well, we don't want that to be the case because we play them after the bye in week 6. We need to beat them there, make sure their record gets worse, and that would make Donald maybe a little bit more available as we get closer to the trade deadline. But yeah, they're like weirdly a decent team that's like staying competitive. So I don't know what their vibe is right now. Are they going to be in complete tank mode? Like Cooper Kupp just came back. You got Puka out there catching all these balls from Stafford. Like they're somewhat a formidable team. Their defense, they don't have that many names outside of Aaron Donald anymore. So who knows? Who knows? That's one I'm throwing out there. He'd obviously help on our defensive line, but it'd have to make sense for us. Like I'd be willing to give up a high pick for him, first, second round pick, but then the cap hit needs to work, and then you got to make sure that Aaron Donald actually wants out of the Rams. Because I could see that being like a Damian Lillard situation where, like, I don't think the Rams are going to trade him unless he's asking out. Because there's a world where Donald's just a Ram for life. He plays out the rest of his contract, retires, and is considered one of the best defensive players of all time and played for one franchise. I could see that happening. But Pittsburgh is his home. Last name, speaking of Pittsburgh, speaking of Pitt players, you know I've been on this. Trade the Jets for Israel Abanikanda. We could use a solid third running back in this room. I think Abanikanda would fit perfectly. For those of you guys that don't know, I mean, he could be like a Jalen Warren for us. He was a running back for Kenny at Pitt. He was a part of that running back room, had a ton of success. And then even after Kenny left in the Keaton Slovis year, he went off. 2022 had like 1,400 yards. I think it was like 18 touchdowns. He would be a really good compliment to Jalen Warren, to Najee Harris. If we didn't include Najee in the deal, I wouldn't even be opposed to that. I've been saying I've been saying that, man. So I'm gonna stick with it. Like if we had to trade Najee for Izzy, I would do that straight up. But I don't think it would cost more than a late round pick. The Jets aren't even using Abanikanda. They're not even using him at all. Brees Hall just went off yesterday. So I think them putting Abanikanda in the lineup is the last thing on the Jets' mind. They're way more concerned about getting Zach Wilson right. Who did have another, I think, solid performance against the Broncos yesterday. Let's give Zach Wilson some credit there. But yeah, those are my 8 trade targets for the Pittsburgh Steelers. I'll go over them real quick, and then I'll see what you guys are saying in the chat, and then we'll get out of here. Patrick Surtain II, J.C. Horn, Mike Gesicki, Tommy Tremble. Oh, the name I missed. I'm sorry. I completely missed this name. I just got LASIK. I can't believe I missed this. My eyesight's got to be better than that. Hunter Renfrow. One of you guys brought up Jerry Jeudy. A couple of you guys are talking about needing a receiver. Hunter Renfrow. The Raiders don't use him at all anymore. Former Pro Bowler. I think this dude can still play. For whatever reason, they just don't feel like throwing Renfrow the ball anymore. They're not utilizing him with slot routes. I looked up this whole thing because right before the Steelers were playing the Raiders, I just wanted to get some insight to what the Raiders offense was doing. And this one Raiders analysis was saying, yeah, they're not even like using Renfrow in the slot anymore or doing like slot routes to get open quick like they were with John Gruden. Now they're trying to send him more downfield. He's just become an afterthought. I feel like Renfrow could be a really nice QB-friendly target for us. You get Deontay back. You have like Renfrow, Robinson, and Calvin Austin compete for that like slot wide receiver 3 spot. And I would assume Renfrow would win that out. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Could be a cap casualty after this year if it didn't work out, but maybe you could come to some sort of agreement with the Raiders where they take on a portion of his contract or whatnot. But yeah, I think Hunter Renfrow would be a really good trade target for the Steelers. Guy that can create separation early and often, and yeah, just be a guy for Kenny, a good safety valve. So those are my 8. Completely forgot about Renfrow. Surtain, Horn, Gesicki, Tremble, Hunter Renfrow, Marcus Peters, and then the last 2 I think are less likely than the other 6 I named, but why not? Aaron Donald, Izzy Abanikanda. I think Abanikanda, I'm telling you, he'd be a perfect complement to Jalen Warren. Perfect. Really help out in the passing game. Short back, compact, speedy. He ran like a 4.2 something at the combine. Then he also could truck over people like Jalen Warren. I'm telling you, Izzy Abanikanda would be a perfect fit for the Steelers. You guys would love him. But a lot of people are saying, D, come on, enough with the Pitt running backs, enough with the Pitt players. Nah, he's legit. He's legit. That is one name I'm going to die on a hill on, saying that if he gets an opportunity, he's going to be a really good NFL player. Okay, we got Marvin and Boss. Says we not getting any of those players, bro. Who we getting then? Drop some trade targets down. Drop some of your trade proposals. Who you think we're getting? We made a trade last year. You can't say we ain't going to be wheelers and dealers at the trade deadline. You can't say that definitively, at least, because we have Omar Khan. Dude's aggressive. Dude's willing to make some trades when he feels like they need to be done. E. Williams 2122. Calvin is good, but he's not a true separator like Renfrow. Calvin is definitely faster and he has more potential, but Renfrow can help us now. That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. I don't think it would cost much either. Raiders aren't even using him. I'd say a 5th round pick could get it done. Jeremy Munn, Devin White. Ooh, I like our inside linebackers. Obviously, he would be a stud for us. We got to pay him. I don't know if I want to pay him that much money. Just considering the position he plays, I'd rather, like, if you had to lay out all these big name players and say like who would you want to trade for? I'd go cornerback. I'd go Surtain just because of the position. I think it's more impactful than inside linebacker. I think you can almost like how we're doing this year. I think you could makeshift it, piece it together with a Cole Holcomb, a Quan Alexander, Landon Rowe. I think that's good enough. But in terms of getting a lockdown corner, I just feel like that's more important for a defense. And to get a Patrick Surtain here, pair him up with JPJ long term. That's what I'd want to do. That's where I'd want to pay long term money on defense. Big T77. I'll say another DB or a star D lineman. I brought up Aaron Donald. Who would be another star defensive lineman, though, that we could get that would be affordable? Obviously, Donald's contract is pretty extravagant. T. Schneider, Bauer, Ramsey. No, that's not happening. There's no way. I'm seeing a lot of Byron Leftwich in the chat. It wouldn't be a trade, but it would involve us firing Canada and bringing in Leftwich to be the new OC, which I'd be for. I think Leftwich would be a name that makes sense. I just brought his name up with Renfro. I think John Gruden wouldn't be bad. If he's trying to get back in the NFL, start off as an OC with a guy in Mike Tomlin who you have a connection with from those Tampa Bay days. I don't think that would be terrible. Byron Leftwich, John Gruden, Mark Whipple, Kenny Pickett's offensive coordinator in college. He's not doing anything. I looked that up. He was with Nebraska last year, but he's just sitting on the couch right now. And then one other name, Todd Haley. Yeah, those 4 names I think will be really good options. I don't even think it'd be the worst call. I know a lot of Steeler fans would lament this, would be upset because it's the Steeler way. It wouldn't even be the worst thing to bump up Mike Sullivan from QB coach because he does have some OC experience. He actually had a good year with the Buccaneers. It was when they had like Josh Freeman. And they put up numbers. They were like a top 10 offense in terms of a bunch of statistics or whatnot. So Mike Sullivan wouldn't be like if we had to, if it was like we're firing Matt Canada, the only option we're doing just because this is the Steeler way is that we're going to call up Mike Sullivan. That wouldn't even be terrible. It wouldn't. But yeah, we got like 4 or 5 options right there. If we wanted to fire Canada, which I think we should. I don't think it's happening though, unfortunately. Big Ben is OC. I doubt that's happening. I doubt that's happening. But yeah, I think he would be a better option than Canada. Sure. If it did come down to that, yeah. Michael Pierce, someone's bringing up. This is a defensive lineman. Okay. Bruce Arians, he's sitting on the couch too. I'm sure he's retired. I'm sure he's just chilling and he's retired. He got the Super Bowl with Brady. I think he's just chilling. Brian Burns, we don't need edge rush help. No, I don't think we need to get him. Bring in Munchak for O-line. That's probably more of an offseason move, to be honest. What is this? We got a conspiracy here. All right, this is the last comment I'll read, then I'll peace out. JJS2296. The switch already happened. Glenn Thomas is calling the plays. That is why Matt had no reaction to the Pickens touchdown. Glenn also has the red pen marking off plays, not Matt. Well, we need to fire Glenn Thomas then, too. Absolutely need to fire him. Kenny Clark. Okay. I could see that. I don't know what his contract details are or whatnot. That wouldn't be a bad call. Tyler Noah says Kenny isn't available. They a good team. Yeah, it depends on how they keep going. I could see the Packers being like the Rams. Their season could go one way or another. They could stay competitive or they could start folding. So we'll just have to see the closer we get to the trade deadline. But all right, that's it. Big shout out to you guys for stopping through. I will be back, I think, next week because we're on the bye right now. at some point next week. I'll keep you guys posted. We'll definitely be back on Bleach Report talking Steelers ball. But this was fun. Shout out to you guys in the chat, chopping it up, keeping things engaged. And yeah, it's a great time to be on top of the AFC North. We'll be getting some reinforcements with the injuries. Hopefully Muth, Deontay's coming back. Hopefully Cam Hayward's closer to getting back. Kenny Pickett can heal up. Top of the AFC North. We got a bye week. Then we go out to LA. Stay chilling, everyone, and peace out.